right, everybody, welcome back to the Grow Your Moving Company podcast. I'm your host, Wade Swikle, owner of Two College Brothers Moving Storage and Franchising and co-founder of the Titan Retreats and Titan Up Training. Today's guest is a fellow Titan, somebody who shares the color purple with us over here at Two College Brothers. We've got Karsten Desario. He's the owner of Kinetic Movers and Storage based in York, Pennsylvania, near Lancaster area. Before we got on the call, I said, what's that Amish town that you're doing? He's like, Lancaster. I was like, yeah, that's right. I ran 6 miles through downtown Lancaster one time. Don't ask me about it. But Karsten has about a $2 million business. He's been in rapid growth mode over the last few years, and they've recently gotten into an 11,000 square foot warehouse, and he's dominating that section of Pennsylvania right now. A true hometown Titan in his own right. How are you today, Karsten?
I'm good. I'm good, Wade. Thanks for asking. Thanks for the introduction. And I do want to say, start off with saying how much of an honor it is to be on this podcast. This was one of the podcasts that changed my life when I first started. In 2021, wow. I remember, I was like Googling where I'm like, all right, I knew nothing about running a business. And I remember I just started searching on Spotify. I'm like, there's got to be something out there. And I came across a couple that didn't, the quality kind of wasn't there. And yours was the first one where I'm like, all right, this is it. Just full of golden nuggets. So definitely changed my life for sure. So
I really appreciate that. Absolutely. I mean, the whole reason I started was just reaching out to other moving companies and having conversations about stuff that I was trying to figure out on my own. And now, it's been a great way to connect with people like yourself and pick your brains. Companies bigger, smaller, same size, doesn't matter. There's always somebody to learn from and things to teach at no matter what level that you're at. So I'm really excited to jump in here and hear more about your story and what you've been doing with Kinetic Movers. But if you don't mind, in your own words, tell us a little bit about where you came from, how you got into moving, and take me through the journey of starting and growing a moving company.
For sure. I always start off, I didn't have the best background. Kind of made a lot of bad decisions growing up. I think it was after I did some time in jail. When I got out, I got introduced to moving. I always say usually guys don't become movers because they got outstanding backgrounds or college degrees. But I wound up working for a friend, a rogue mover, and did that for about 2 years. But it was the first job that I thoroughly enjoyed doing. I've always been an athlete, so just the workout, constantly just change of scenery, thinking on your toes. And I the customer service, I absolutely just fell in love with it. 2 years down, I reached out to my sister and just said, let's try and do this ourselves. And then we started out as a labor only company, rogue mover, actually. I mean, we did what we had to do for the first 2 years. And then I started listening to podcasts. I knew how to move, but I didn't really know anything about running a business. And I started listening, found your podcast, started finding others, got introduced to the moving groups. And from then on, we've just been growing.
Awesome. Love to hear that. And, similar story, having worked for at the time, a rogue mover, and thinking to myself, man, this guy's making all this money. We got an unmarked pickup truck, an unmarked trailer, and he's bringing in hundreds of dollars in cash on all these moves, paying me $15 an hour. Like, I could do this. This can't be that hard. And then that ultimately led me into this space, and I was in for a rude awakening those first several years. What was your thought process when you were getting started? I mean, how long did it take you to start to figure out the game?
I'd say it took me a little longer. I was on the trucks for a while. Like I said, I mean, I don't come from, I'm a little uneducated. I got like an 8th grade education level. Most of my life, like I said, I wasn't making the best choices. But I don't know, after listening podcast networking, I went to my first tiny event. I think, I went to the first one in Tampa. It was the first one in 24 in March, and I came there. We just finished doing about 577. After that event, I mean, it got me all fired up. I remember reaching out to Chad Coatney after the event, and he gave me a list of task items to do. And, I went and did them all. And he's like, make a video about your company. It was a get call rail. And I forget, he gave me like a list of things, but I just went and executed them. And I know that year we came back and we ended up doing we almost broke a mill that year. I think we hit like 920. And, but yeah, it's just pretty much like 50% growth. And yeah, from then on, it's just been, you know, it's some awesome growth.
That's awesome. I love hearing stories like that. And you've grown a lot faster than I did. I started back in well, I started working as a mover, freelance, and then a little bit with another company before this. But I started my company in 2012, and I think like that first year, I mean, I was also in college and not really fully into it that year, but and it was like a half of a year, I guess. I started in June, but we think we did like $65,000 that first year, and then we did like maybe 120 the second year, and then maybe like 240, and it just kind of started slowly getting there, and it really wasn't much. I mean, back then a dollar went a little farther, but still wasn't
For sure.
much. I think it took me 7 years to get to that $1 million threshold. What would you say, knowing what I know now, I think it can go a lot faster, and that's one of our franchise promises, that we can get you to $1 million in 3 years. But
3 years. Yeah.
but it sounds like you pretty much did it on your own. I mean, knowing what you know now, what were the biggest accelerators? What tools or marketing strategies or mindset shifts do you think got you to that first $1 million threshold?
Yeah. One thing I always heard, and I know like I heard it on your podcast, I heard it from others, was just actually one thing you said, like consistently delivering a quality service is one of the best marketing sources. Like just consistently doing a good job, culture, taking care of your team, just loving what you do, man. I've just been so focused on the quality of our work and the customer service and building our reputation. I think it's just branding us. And then just the other things were just, you learn about SEO, you learn about just different marketing ads. Now I'm involved in networking groups, trying to get out there more and doing that.
Yeah, I mean that's the foundation of everything. You don't want to be a company that's a one hit wonder, and every move is kind of like make or break. You're not really sure how it's going to go. You're a little nervous to take on those higher end clients because you got some issues with your team or your culture or your training or your standards or just the techniques. I think I always say that should be the very first SOP that a new company should develop. And some people say sales, which is fine, but if you come from little or no moving experience, or you're hiring people that don't have a ton of moving experience because you don't have the options or the network to get more experienced people in the beginning, and most people don't. Some people do if they came from the industry working as a mover, but figuring that stuff out and replicating it on a move so that your service is consistent, because I feel like it makes your confidence go up as well. It makes you want to go to those networking groups where you have to see the same people every single day or every week or every month or whatever group it is. You can hold your head up high in the grocery store wearing your company shirt when you know that, nobody's going to, be coming up to you to cry or whatever it is. Like, you can hold your head up high and be proud of the service that you offer, and people ask you about it, and you're not hesitant to talk to them about what you have going on. I've had cashiers at the grocery store book moves and ask me about our services randomly walking down the street at a coffee shop. And there was a point in the beginning where I was like a little nervous to I kind of wanted to not be the face of the brand and kind of hide behind it, because I wasn't sure we were able to deliver a quality service every single time. Obviously that's changed quite a bit, but I think that's the first thing, because it just, if anything, it gets your confidence up so that you're able to walk into a realtor's office and do a presentation and know that you'll be able to take care of those people, or really sell your service. And customers can sniff out somebody who's confident in their service and who's not. And so that's I think the most important fundamental, and then get those SOPs done to be able to scale that, to be able to take on growth. But, outside of that, were there any marketing strategies? Because I think that's a big struggle that a lot of companies have early on, is getting the phone to ring.
Yeah, I think I came in at a good time. I came in we started in 2021, so it's still during that COVID boom. I just started hearing things. I mean, right off the rip, I mean, I didn't know nothing about Google or SEO. I caught on to that pretty quick, got a listing. I think we were in the top three right away. Phone was ringing. I was going on Facebook, posting in Marketplace, posting in groups constantly. And I think our first year we did like 250. So wasn't too bad for a first year. Yeah, I think SEO is probably the biggest driver when we first started, and then still just being, it was during the time of COVID, so it was moving seat. Everyone was busy at that time, so I think we got in at the right time.
Yeah, no, that was definitely a good time to break in because every company was booking up and there was just so much low hanging fruit to go around. Have you seen any kind of challenges since we've gotten away from that 0% interest rate period where things were, just flying and everybody and their mother needed to move quite literally? I know a lot of companies closed down or sold or, kind of froze once the phone stopped ringing off the hook, or maybe they were over leveraged and they had too big of a team, too many expenses because they thought it was going to go forever. A lot of companies have struggled a little bit over the last couple of years. I'm curious to hear what challenges you may have faced, once the madness died down, or have you just kind of outgrown the economy?
I honestly, it's hard for me to say because we just grew every year. I can't say if it got slower or not. Every year we grew. I think our first we did 250, second we did a little over four. And it was like, yeah, a little under six, and then then we just broke that mill. So I mean, it's growing every year. Now we're on track to do two. We've been doubling, tripling what we did last year's months. Double January, tripled February, doubled March. So yeah,
That's exciting,
it's been
man.
going
You're
great.
you're
Yeah.
in that you're in that stage where you've got momentum and it's a very exciting time. Can also be a little stressful because sometimes when you're in that rapid growth mode you don't necessarily have like a whole team to delegate every department and every task to. What's the structure of your kind of back end of the move, like in terms of sales, dispatching,
Yeah.
operations?
For sure. Yeah. I got well, I'm training a new operations manager right now, but yeah, we have an operations manager. I have two sales reps, two guys answering the phones, and then I got an executive assistant in the Philippines I got from Ready Rolls. So she does a lot of
Nice.
my admin tasks, and then yeah, I don't touch sales anymore. I have two sharks out there that are on it, and the one sales rep with Willie, he's been with me since we started. So he started off as a mover in the truck with me. A couple months into starting, he was my right hand man. He did a little as we grew. He did a little bit of everything. In the beginning, was we were kind of wearing multiple hats. So I'd be taking sales, hopping on moves, doing operations. We kind of just switch it off. He'd take phone calls, do dispatch, and then as we grew, I noticed he had a knack for just a natural gift for sales. So and eventually as we grew, I was like, all right, you're full time in sales. 2024, I put him in full time in that seat. I think that was part of our growth too, is I had a dedicated salesperson, not just taking calls and then hopping on moves. And yeah, yeah. Now
Yeah,
I make sure to. Oh god.
I don't know what else. You go.
Oh no, I was just saying. Now we do training. I don't come from a sales background, but we joined Austin Yarborough's Moving Army, so every Friday we do role play. I've taken them to some events, and yeah,
Yeah,
definitely trying to dial that process in.
that's something I wish I knew more in the beginning. We would answer the phone most of the time when it rang, quote the customer. We didn't have a sales script. We didn't have rebuttals. We didn't have a follow-up process. This is the very beginning. I learned all of that through Louis Massaro and the podcast and mentorship and things like that. But, it was, if they didn't want to book a move, then we're on to the next thing. And we just hoped for more leads. And we asked for, every resource we could think of to try to get, the marketing up to get more leads. Cause I didn't realize the importance of a sales process and the importance of the follow up and following scripts and having a CRM. It was several years before we had all of that. And that's all so important. Hey movers, it's Wade Swikle and you're listening to the Grow Your Moving Company podcast. If you've ever wasted money on marketing to the wrong homes, listen up. This is why I use USA Home Listings. They're the only platform in the moving industry built by movers that not only has new home listings and under contract listings updated daily, but now offers enhanced data that can eliminate vacant homes and give you phone numbers and emails for both homeowners and realtors, giving you multiple ways to connect and close more jobs. Their vacancy AI tool removes empty homes so there are no more wasted mailing efforts, and their Tier 2 data takes it further, providing highly accurate contact details for both homeowners and realtors for email, phone, and social outreach. The result? higher conversions, stronger ROI, and more book jobs with less spend. Check out usahomolistings.com because it's where real movers get real leads. And I'm curious to hear like what the sales SOPs or scripts or training looks like besides, the role play with Austin's group.
Yeah, we've been taking a lot of the Jeremy Minor approach recently, asking more questions. Just yeah, I mean our SOPs. I mean we definitely speed a lead, asking thorough questions, and just yeah, vicious follow ups. I wouldn't say we have it like completely dialed in, but I mean we're working on
Well,
it.
sales is a lifelong skill. I mean, if anybody
Mhm.
ever says they have it completely dialed in and they're not still training and learning and practicing and, doing those things and really mastering it, then I would, if you're interviewing them, I would pass on that person because that's such an important part with sales is the repetitions. It's like a professional golfer. Like they hit 1,000 balls every single day, even though they're shooting 10 under par, they still show up just about every single day and they put the reps in and they put the work in. And to be a truly great salesperson, you have to be willing to do that. And it blows my mind when a salesperson especially gets comfortable because maybe they hit their nut for the month, but they're not continuously trying to sharpen that saw and just practice every single thing they could do because no salesperson is going to book 100% of their moves. I think it's that constant pursuit to get to 100, but it's never going to happen. But you can, even if you're booking 80%, you can book 81, 82. There's always
Yeah,
a little
yeah.
bit of room for improvement there and to get
And
more
that
accurate.
usually means your prices are too low anyways if you're booking 80% though.
That's a great point. I say like, that sweet spot for us, at least we try to honestly keep our booking percentage 30 to 40. If it starts to creep above that, then we raise our prices again until it gets back down. I mean, some companies might say that they're doing 40, 60%. I take a lot of that with a grain of salt. I think, why aren't they raising their prices if they're doing 60%? And because it takes a lot less jobs and puts a lot more money in your pocket with a lot less moving parts and headaches if you charged, higher prices and even if that means fewer jobs. I mean, think about it this way, like you could do 1,000 jobs for $200 a pop. Great, you're making $200,000 a year. But what if you did 200 jobs for $1,000 a pop? Your expenses are going to be a lot lower in that situation. And really mastering those upsells. Is that, are you guys, how would you consider yourselves in your market? Are you higher priced, middle range?
Definitely the highest.
Yeah,
Definitely the highest in our market. Yeah, we hear that all the time. We're definitely the highest price, but we're known as I mean, we're becoming the hometown dominator now. So we're known
that's
for the
awesome.
quality work. We've far surpassed like a lot of the independents here. I know, like I said, there's levels to this. So, I mean, we're doing nothing crazy. We're about to hit 2 mil, but in my area, I mean, all the independents, they're stuck around the 500,000-600,000 mark. They ain't doing all this. They're not going to events. They're not, they're not listening to podcasts. They're just comfortable. I mean, we do have van lines that are, they're definitely doing 8 figures. They've been in business for 100 plus years. But between all the independents, no, we far surpassed them. We're known as the quality movers for sure.
Nice. How big is your market? And is there a lot of competition?
Yeah, yeah. So I'm in a smaller area. I have a lot of my metropolitan is I like my city itself is probably like 50,000. The county I want to say is like 500,000, but I got surrounding counties, so I got Harrisburg, Lancaster. I service within a 60-mile radius. I say overall within my service area, I could probably service a little over 1 million. So it's
I mean,
not a big
that's
market, not a big, it's definitely a smaller
that's
market for sure.
kind of a sweet spot though, because it's small enough to where you can generate a lot of that word of mouth. I've seen some companies that are in relatively small markets, under 1 million, and they crush it, doing 5, 6, 7, 8+ million dollars a year because, they are that hometown dominator or hometown titan, shameless plug. That's like, that they know everybody. You can get to know all of the big players in real estate and you can really focus in on those people. And it kind of, a lot of times there's less competition or at least sophisticated competition in those markets, especially if you've already kind of got a stranglehold on the market. It kind of keeps a lot of that competition out or down, especially when they're not willing to put in the work. And I know you put in the work. I know you've read the books and you've listened to the podcast. You've come to the events. You're part of Austin's group, and Austin's going to be joining us in June at our mastermind out there. We're doing some things with him, and it's exciting to see what he's grown into over the last few years with the moving army, and buying companies and rebranding and doing all that cool stuff. But like, what would you recommend a company that's trying to gain access to the resources? What resources, what mentorship, what tools, trainings, like what has been the biggest things that have moved the needle for your personal growth that has related to your company growth?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, we live in a day and age where knowledge is at our fingertips. So we have knowledge everywhere. There's networking groups all out there. I mean, the Moving Company Owners Unite has been a game changer. And going to the Titan events, going to the other events like the Moving Army. I've been just trying to hit these moving events. And I get, honestly, I get the most value from the talks outside the events, the one-on-ones. Then you build relationships, and then, then you get invited in group chats, and then everyone's just a phone call away and say, hey, how do you do X, Y, Z? And you ask guys that have that experience, and there's, like I said, just a phone call away. So I think just building those relationships, coming to the events, and then I mean, that's probably been the biggest game changer for sure. Just always just seeking to learn. There's knowledge out there, man.
All the knowledge in the world is out there, and I mean, the magic, to your point, really does happen in those backroom conversations. I mean, we could throw the biggest, flashiest event with the best speakers in the world, but it's not going to matter if you're just hiding in a corner and not talking to anybody and connecting with the people, because that's where the nuggets really come out. And you build that bond and that brotherhood with this group of people that are in your exact same position, that aren't necessarily competing against you. Sometimes they are, but even so, like, you're able to actually have somebody you can talk about these struggles and these milestones and these things that the average person, even, spouses, partners, don't always understand because they're not in the trenches. Don't get it. Yeah. I'm right there with you on that. And getting that exposure and getting in front of people, making those connections for group chats and Facebook messengers and participating in the groups on Facebook. I mean, all the information's out there. You just got to ask for it, and you just got to surround yourself with the right people.
Well, people are giving out free information all around. You just, like you said, you just got to ask. I mean, yeah, guys are dropping nuggets all the time on the Moving Company Owners Unite group, all the time.
I've kind of thought about this, like, what if you could put like an AI in there, like one of these claw bots or something, or I don't know what the best platform would be for it, but to aggregate like all of that information over probably close to 10 years of Moving Company Owners Unite, and like distill it down into a literal playbook. I thought that would be, you can search the group. If there's ever a topic that, you're curious about, you can just plug it in there and search it.
It's in there. Yep.
But, yeah, I just posted a question in there today, about hiring, what to look for with A players. And, not that I don't already have my own ideas on that, but I'm always curious to hear people's perspectives on that sort of a thing. Cause sometimes there's just things that you don't think of, or things that maybe aren't publicly available that people are willing to share. But speaking of AI, are you on the AI train? Are you utilizing AI in your business at all?
Yeah, for sure. We're definitely using Live Switch. We're using that. We've definitely been using the AI for doing our inventory now. So I got that premium API set up with Smart Moving. We've been really putting that to use. Most of our estimates are virtual. I've been really pushing for those. I mean, of course, ChatGPT, we're making SOPs with it. I mean, my AI knows me. I'm constantly asking questions, just getting feedback from it. But yeah, SOPs. Actually, I just ordered one of those necklaces, those AI necklaces, as a note taker. So that's coming in.
What are those called? Somebody showed that to me at the last retreat, and it's like,
I forget what it's called.
I have it in my notes on my phone. I don't want to dig for it right now, but
yes.
Yeah, that's cool. It summarizes the conversation, and you can go back and, oh yeah, I think somebody said that one thing, and you can like search it and find it. That's, yeah, a lot of really cool stuff happening with AI. Are you using it for anything else?
As of right now, yeah. I mean, just basic SOPs, making those, and then with the Live Switch, and yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's never been easier to make SOPs right now, and it still blows my mind that moving companies don't understand the importance of SOPs. I mean, there's services out there. We've partnered with some services to help people do it. But I mean, I do it in AI all the time. You know, we wrote an SOP on how to get on vendor lists for commercial projects and FF&E stuff. And it helped me refine everything down to the template for a vendor packet to send out, you know, with the size font and the spacing and the format of what decision makers in large companies like to see. And the answer is kind of surprising. It was, you know, don't make it a flashy piece of marketing material. You want this to look boring because usually the person that's going to see it is in procurement and they know when they're trying to be sold and they know when somebody knows what they're talking about and, you know, they can talk the talk. And I thought, interesting. Because all this time we've been trying to make flashier folders and pictures and fonts and logos and everything. Yeah. So, I mean, SOP, I mean, you can just prompt AI to say, hey, you know, write me an SOP on dispatching or how the best way to do a move. What should move day look like? And especially now, there's so much information. It's distilling the podcasts, not only mine, but the other ones that are out there. It's distilling the social media. It's distilling YouTube videos, and then all of the publicly available information on people's blogs and FAQs and everything else and customer reviews. It looks at that stuff and it'll spit something out in 15 seconds that used to take me, you know, 15 hours to try to put together, just, you know, pen and paper. So it's really cool stuff that's happening. But you mentioned LiveSwitch and how you're doing more virtuals or mostly virtuals.
Mostly virtual.
Yeah. Why mostly virtuals and not over the phone or on site? Just curious.
I think it's today's day and age, this generation. I mean, a lot of people prefer virtuals. We push for it. Of course, you know, the older generation, they prefer in-homes, but if they prefer an in-home, we're going to get over there. We still use LiveSwitch, though. We record it all, so it can take the inventory. We've also been using it for accountability, though, too. It's definitely saved us on a few damage claims. I'm making sure that, you know, we have that videoed, everything is documented, but yeah, no, it's easier to get online real quick. It saves us time. We're not running from, you know, point A to point B. We could do it right in the office. We could do more volume, get more estimates done. Yeah, like I said, not waste so much time too, running around. Now, you know,
yeah,
of course
it's a great tool to have, but yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, I was just gonna say you have a higher chance of closing doing in-homes, but you know, a lot of people are cool with it.
So yeah, so I'd love to hear your process for setting those up. Because you're right. I think on site is still, you know, especially for older clientele, you get in the home, you know, they can see you're physically a human, but LiveSwitch is the next best thing because you get to go face to face with somebody. They see you're a real person. It's not just a voice over the phone or just a text or an email back and forth. Like this is a legitimate person that you're speaking to, and you get to see everything. They have the AI that can do your inventory. And you brought up another really good use case of surveying for damages with it, pre-existing damages. And I know a lot of movers are starting to get their crew chiefs and their leads to go through the house on move day to get an inventory to make sure that A, the inventory matches what the salesperson has, and B, to get those pre-existing, you know, issues out of the way to save on claims. I want to take a second and tell you all about Tighten Up Training. As a co-founder, we've spent months and months and months and a lot of money pooling together resources from some of the best moving companies in the world. And we're excited to bring this to an online platform available to any mover to use at an affordable price. Tighten Up Training has over 200 videos, including mover training, your highest turnover position, so that you can reduce claims, streamline operations, give your team the tools to perform at the highest level of service that generate repeat and referral business and allow you to charge higher prices, as well as sales training, marketing training, business development, leadership. We're adding more content as we speak. We've got legal training in there. We've even got door-to-door training for the moving industry, thanks to Lenny Gray at the Moving Titan Retreat. We've seen a massive explosion of moving companies jumping on to Tighten Up Training since the last retreat, and people are loving it. And when you sign up and mention this podcast, we're going to give you a free 6-week onboarding course in order to learn how to hold your team accountable and get the entire team on the platform so that you can have the best off-season and summer season that you've ever had. So go to tightenuptraining.com, schedule your free demo today, and look forward to tightening up. When a customer reaches out, maybe they fill out a quote form or they call in, walk me through that process on how you get them set up for a virtual to give them a quote.
Yeah, I mean, website lead comes in, we're calling them. We have them on the phone, and we just ask them, hey, are you available right now? Are you at home right now to give us a walkthrough? We'll send you a link, and if they are, then we just send it to them. We get on right then and there. Don't have to set like a date for an estimate. Like, okay, we can get you in on Friday, because the more days go by, the more likely they are to book with someone else. So we get them right then and there, get them an estimate right there on the spot, and I think. Two, it kind of separates us as well, because I know a lot of my competition is not using it. It's a cool little gadget, makes us look a little tech savvy, and it's just convenient. So I think it
Yeah.
just gets the.
So you're telling the customer, like, you have them on the phone, or you're reaching out to them probably with a phone call if they fill out a form on the site. You're saying, hey, I'd love to see everything. Can I shoot you a text to jump on a virtual? You don't have to download anything. Doesn't matter what kind of phone you have. Are you free to do that right now and walk through the house? Is that pretty much it?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely, that's
Love
it.
that. Love that. No, it's awesome. And it integrates right in with smart moving. I think it does with Supermove and some of the other CRMs as well, which makes it even easier. So that's awesome that you're seeing success. What's the difference in booking percentages that you've seen from on-sites to virtuals to over the phone?
On-site's definitely a higher booking percentage for sure. Virtual is the next best one. On-sites, I mean, we'll usually have a 50% booking percentage on site. Live switch is within that 35 to 40% range.
Okay, cool. And if a customer pushes back, maybe it's an older customer that doesn't trust the interwebs or the AIs these days or the videos, you're going to just schedule them for an on-site, or you do anything over the phone, or is it all pretty much either virtual or on-site?
I ask for all virtuals. I require my sales team to get a virtual on every estimate. And again, that's also just for accountability purposes. So we can document what they say over the phone. We have no more like he says, she says. I told him about that 600-pound gun safe. We have it right there. Yeah. So I require them to get a live switch for every move.
Nice. Well, it seems like you've got a really good culture. I've been following you guys on social media. You come up with some hilarious reels and probably TikToks. I'm not on TikTok, but I see the
We're
reels
not
on
on TikTok
Instagram.
either.
Okay, cool. We're on the same page there. I guess TikTok's safe now. I don't know if it is or not. I'd love to talk to some mover that is crushing it on TikTok. I think actually Carl, I think, had like a viral TikTok that got like 1 million views. But how is that doing? Is that bringing in business with the fun content where you're showcasing your culture? And have you gotten anything to go viral with it? Has it led to more moves?
Yeah, I mean, I think it just helps with our branding. I'm not really
Mm,
tracking that if we're getting direct moves from it, but we've got a pretty decent following on social media. I mean, I know organically we're getting 4,000, 5,000 views.
that's
And
great.
we're not, yeah, just organically. So we've had a couple of hits. We just watch trending videos, and the guys love doing it. We've got an awesome culture, so I don't know. They all love video day, and we're always just kind of scrolling through, different trends that are coming up. And like, okay, yeah, let's do this one.
And you just do them all in house.
Yeah, we just do them all in house. Yeah, we do them all at the warehouse for sure.
I love that. And you have to have a good culture because otherwise the guys wouldn't want to participate in that stuff. I've had
They
movers in the
love to.
past. Yeah, I had a mover in the past that we were going out to a hot tub move, and I told them that we were going to be filming it so that we could make a training video out of it and make some content out of it. And that mover literally called out because he's like, I don't want to be in no training video. I don't want to be on a video. And I'm like, you got to go. Like, we ended up letting him go. Not solely because of that, but it was definitely a contributing factor.
Mhm.
It's like, if you want to be part of this culture, you gotta be part of this culture. And this is one of the things that we do. But I'm curious to kind of talk a little bit about culture and staffing. Like, what do you do to maintain that positive can do attitude where guys are having fun and, ultimately enjoying their work? And, how do you find those people?
Dude, I've been blessed. I think it comes from, I mean, I come from the recovery scene, so a lot of my guys, come from there as well. Not all of them. It's been changing a little bit as we grow. We've been getting people from the outside, but no, I've always just been strong on. I've always looked out for my team. I care about my team. I'm not going to ask them to do anything I wouldn't do. We do a lot of events. We do a lot of team building exercises. We do a lot of barbecues, bowling. We did one of those escape rooms, trying to build like team building exercises. Uh, yeah, I don't even know how to. It's I just truly care about them, and people know that they recognize real. So people know when you have their back, like they're gonna have your back. And I pretty much tell my guys like, we bleed purple, and you bleed for me, I bleed for you, and I've showed up for them. I've shown up for a lot of my team in like personal areas of their life because I truly do care, and they got my back.
What are some examples of that? Because I think that's a really good topic to bring up. I did a podcast a while back where somebody, said when you're doing these team building events, yeah, it's great to have a pizza party. It's great to go bowling or whatever. But these people are working all the time. They're not home that much. A lot of them have kids. A lot of them have a wife or a partner at home. They're not home a whole lot to be with them because they have to go out and support their family. So one of the biggest things you can do as an owner is to do things that involve the family, like give the family something to do. Because if they don't have a lot of money to go out to amusement parks and go do fun stuff all the time, like what if the work provided that source of entertainment to like get the kids to go out to do something fun and something for the wives, girlfriends, boyfriends, whatever it is, something for them to do to see how much this company cares and where they can have fun and do those events for them, not for the actual person necessarily, because it ultimately makes that person look good and it gets the support from the family to be able to go and cover a last minute move or work late at night, without having to go home because whoever's calling them, nagging them to come home. But I'm curious, like, what you do to on that front, with the families, helping them out of tough situations to really build that brand loyalty.
No, I definitely have. I think I've heard you say it in your hometown Titan too, Titan book too, to build culture. I mean, if a guy needs help, if their family needs help, I'm going to front them. I've helped them out in situations before where they're struggling. Is hey, a couple $100 to get them through something. The other team's done that for each other too. If someone's struggling, I mean, everyone kind of gets together and they'll help that team member out. Just like you said with the events and involving the family, we do a lot of that. So we do barbecues where we got a bunch of kids running around, even at the warehouse. Guys bring in their kids. So when we have team meetings, I know we just had a team meeting a couple of weeks ago, and there was like 3 babies there. So every team member had their newborn. They're sitting there, and we ordered a whole breakfast for everyone. And we just sat down. We had our team meeting for a couple hours. So it's just doing events like that. We do a lot of that.
One of the biggest challenges I've found in doing team events is finding time when you don't have moves and everybody's available and willing to, come in on their otherwise off time. I mean, we've done stuff in the past where we've tried to do stuff in the past, and a lot of the guys are like, "Yeah, pizza's great, but I'd rather you just send me the money that you're going to spend on the pizza, rather than like come to work when I'm not getting paid to come to work." So I'm kind of curious how you get that buy-in and when you find the time to do it, when, it's not going to impact your business, but also to, that's convenient for them to show up to.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, for us, we don't work Sundays. I think
Okay.
I implemented that about 2 years ago, and I'm never going back. So I kind of go Chick-fil-A style. I think it's like the one day that everyone's promised we don't work, and I enjoy it that way. And yeah, but if we do events, I mean, yeah, we usually throw it on a Sunday, and most of everybody shows up. Almost everybody shows up. I mean, you might have a couple that can't make it, but for the most part, everyone, yeah, they're bought in. They're bought in.
When do
They
you
want to show up.
when do you do like the content shoots? Is that like before dispatch, or is that in the evenings, or?
During the day, during work hours, if someone's not working, we'll usually have team members. If there's a couple team members not on the job, we'll bring them in. Uh, yeah, I mean, after they get off a job, sometimes we're doing a content shoot, and guys will be coming back from a job and like, hey, you want to start, jump in a video and like, things like that.
I love that.
Sometimes it's just the office staff. So, I mean, sometimes there's only like 3 of us shooting a video.
What kind of turnover do you have? Do you ever have guys that aren't a good culture fit, or there's a dispute, or is this like, are you running with like a core group that has been with you since the beginning? I'm curious what what the churn is.
Yeah, I mean, most of my guys have been with me for years. Like I said, my top sales guy, Willie, been with me since 2021. I have some other guys, they've been with me on 3+ years. I have lost some. I've definitely let go of a lot. So, I mean, you definitely filter through people. But yeah, I have like a core group of guys that have been with me for a few years. Um, I mean, I know I just lost my ops manager. That was, I realized I kind of burned him out. So I had to readdress how we were structuring things. He was with me for about 3 years, but he just resigned. So, um, I mean, it happens. I've let go of guys that I've hired friends before, and I've had to let them go if they don't fit in. And the culture is everything. So I mean, you could teach someone skill, you can't teach them manners.
Yeah, my first ops manager was one of my best friends, fraternity brothers, roommates, and he did a great job for 4 years. But it's a stressful position. I probably, I was still figuring out the business at that time, and probably leaned on him too much. Having him come and dispatch 6, 7 days a week sometimes, and I look back and made a lot of mistakes, and thankfully we've been able to preserve the friendship, but he he ended up leaving my moving company to go join the army at the age of like I think 25 or 26. So he was a little bit older to enlist, but I was like, dang, did I drive you that crazy that you went and joined the army and went to boot camp with a bunch of 18-year-old grunts? But looking back, I can, that was kind of, he had always kind of wanted to do that and was kind of figuring his career out at the time. And ultimately he's happy, still enlisted in the army based in North Carolina. And we stay in touch. We text back and forth to this day sometimes, especially when I come across some crazy moving thing that I know he can relate to. But, it's tough hiring friends and family. I try to stay away from it. It's okay, I think, to become friends in a professional environment once that mutual respect has been mutually earned. But, you see a different side of people when they are in work mode sometimes. And unfortunately, sometimes friends and family take advantage of you, and sometimes you just have different values. You don't see eye to eye on things. And it can be really tough. And especially ops. It's a very high stress
Ops is no
position.
joke.
I see more
Takes a
burnout.
special kind of person.
It absolutely does. I've just seen more burnout in the ops role. It's my least favorite part of the company. I try to hire for that. That was the first thing I really hired for aside from movers, because it's tough, man. You're dealing with guys and their antics. You're dealing with customers in a stressful situation. You got a lot of moving parts, a lot of things going on. It's kind of thankless a lot of the time. And I'm just kind of curious, like what do you think you could have maybe done better, or that you plan to do in your next ops manager role, or have you filled that role? Like, what are you looking for?
Yeah, no, I filled that role. Definitely, I put too much on him. Definitely was kind of like, okay, that's operations. He was probably handling some HR stuff that wasn't technically operations. I had him handling claims too. So you're not only managing people, now you're dealing with upset clients and, trying to, handle claims. And I just had actually a one-on-one with Winston Davis yesterday, and he's like, bro, yeah, you keep claims separate from ops. And I think I heard you on other podcasts too. You have a dedicated person to handle claims. So we've switched that around. We completely looked at what we're doing. We're like, okay, this is the ops manager role. And then, we're not going to add any more on it. This is what the role is. Anything else, we got to figure out a way to hand that off to someone else. If that means getting another VA or, handing, moving someone else up, handing that responsibility to them. But yeah, I'm not gonna add all that on. So I'm especially not mixing claims with managing the movers.
Hey everybody, Wade here, and I've got an awesome game-changing announcement for you. Now, I know a lot of you guys are constantly asking, how do we get more leads? How do we get better leads? You're tired of spending way too much money for pay-per-click or buying leads or LSA, whatever it may be, only to get low-paying customers that become a headache with small moves, and you don't get an ROI on those jobs. Well, the exciting news is that our friends at Moversville have just launched a new product called the Realtor Referral Engine, where they not only get in front of realtors, but they command direct response, replies, and referred business. I'm super pumped about this, but don't just take my word for it. My friend Austin Yarborough over at Central Coast Moving and Lucky Day Moving and the Moving Army, I know he's got a bunch of them, just like me. That's why we're friends. has gotten over 40 direct replies from realtors in his first month of using the realtor referral engine from Moversville. And then there's Scott with ABC Moving Systems. He's booked over $30,000 in work and made over 20 new realtor connections. What can an extra $30,000 a month do for your business? Here's what makes this kind of marketing different. These aren't just one and done jobs. These are realtors who keep referring large jobs, can introduce you to the other members of their brokerage, and then those moves can start referring more and more jobs. You have to stay front of mind though. So if you want to learn more about the Realtor Referral Engine by Moversville, head on over to moversville.com and book a quick 15-minute call with my friend Tim, who runs the place. He'll know exactly what your business needs to get set up. He can do it all to make sure that you're getting high ticket jobs at a fraction of the cost of other marketing sources. I think you're going to be happy that you did that. Don't sleep on this one. Go check out moversville.com. Look for the 15-minute intro call with Tim and report back with your results so that I can talk about them here on the show. Thanks for tuning in. Well, what happens a lot of times is that's not a fun thing to deal with, claims, especially when you've got 10,000 other things and you got to get moves done that day and get the schedule set for the next day and make confirmation calls and go run stretch wrap out to this job or whatever you got to do. And then customer calls in and they need, a piece of wood repaired, or, they need something, they're not happy about it, whatever it may be. It's hard to get excited to prioritize that when you got so many other things going on. And unfortunately, a lot of times what happens when ops handles claims is they just kind of kick the can down the road. They forget to call people back. They, things slip through the cracks. And then all of a sudden this like rational upset customer becomes an irrational irate customer. And that's where you start getting the 1-star reviews and the poor overall experience. And we use a VA as our chief of raving fans, what we call her. She does 7-day packing check-in calls and then introduces herself as, kind of the point of contact after the move if they need anything. We have her now doing check-in calls during the move and then after the move as well, kind of once the dust is settled. Sometimes during the move, customers not willing to go into it because the guys are right there and they're stressed. They're just trying to get the cable guy to show up or whatever may be going on. But after the move, they've had some time to take a breath. Maybe they get a call the next day after they've slept if it went into the evening or late afternoon. And, they're more willing to talk and point out any of the issues. Because I personally believe that a satisfied customer that doesn't say anything isn't any better than a unsatisfied. In fact, an unsatisfied customer is going to let you know what they're unsatisfied about so you can fix it. Whereas there's a lot of people that have an experience, whether it's in moving or anything, that they just don't want the hassle of having to go through a claim or whatever. They're just not happy. They're not going to refer you. Maybe they'll even talk negatively about you. They might not leave a 1-star. They might not
going to leave a
in.
review, but yeah, they're not going to use you again. And the worst thing I hate is when you call a client and you're like, how was the move? And they're like, it was good.
It was fine.
Why wasn't it fantastic? Yeah, it was fine. Yeah,
it's like talking to your wife, girlfriend. How are you? Fine. Like, that's
exactly. Exactly. It's like, okay, like what could we have done better? Like, why wasn't it fantastic? Why wasn't it the best moving experience ever? So yeah.
Yeah. It allows you to get ahead of those problems before they even become a thing. And I think a lot of people are scared to do that because they think like, oh, well, they're going to point out claims that I'm going to have to pay for that I otherwise wouldn't have to deal with. Well, good. Like, how much is the next move that they're going to refer you to going to be compared to that claim because they were overall satisfied with how you handled the situation. Whereas you might not even get that move. You might even lose your moves if they talk negatively to their friends about you. So, and we all know people are a lot more likely to want to share bad news than they are to share a good experience. So you just have to go above and beyond and stay consistent with that. So yeah, we use a VA as our chief of rating fans. We got them through Hire, used to be called Hey Lou, and she works out of Mexico City. So she speaks perfect English, very assimilated with Western culture, and she's great. She helps us with addressing a lot of those situations. And then if it's a extensive claim that maybe is above her pay grade, we work with MoveBees that we keep on a small retainer to handle the more complicated things. Thankfully, there aren't a whole lot of those, but a few of them a year. And it's just a good line of defense. And if somebody from management needs to get involved because it's just something that, those remote claim resolutions can't handle, then, we can still get involved with it. And I do like ops to know about the claims. They need to feel a little bit of pain because otherwise they will slack on the training or the preparedness, or, they just want to focus on getting the jobs out without consequence. There needs to be a little bit of pain there, but when it comes to resolving the issue with the client, maybe an ops can take 50, $100 off the bill at closeout or whatever, if it's something real small. But when it comes to anything more than that, like, you want to make sure that the customer is addressed, and then you can find ways to hold the operations team accountable to prevent them from happening again in the future. That's what I found to be pretty good. So when you hired your new ops manager, what were some of the key things that you looked for?
Actually, I hired someone. I wanted someone that wasn't a mover. So I hired someone completely outside of moving. I hired a female. I wanted to hire someone that had, yeah. So I wanted, I feel like females are more organized than men are, at least more than me. I'm not the most organized person. So I wanted someone that had better skills than me. So I got ADHD, man.
I think a lot of us entrepreneurs and moving company owners have some touch of ADHD and probably some other stuff, but
yeah, I'm bing, bing, bing.
Yeah. With, females packing, we just hired a female packer, and I think that's a really smart move too, because they're more organized and more particular about, those little things that your ideal customer, who a lot of times is female, is going to care about. And so I'm excited to get her going. We just hired her recently, and we've had female movers and drivers before too. Those haven't worked out as well, but I know there are companies that have great ones. You do?
I have one right now. Yeah, she's awesome currently.
Good.
So my sister was one too. My sister was a beast, and this one we have now, she's good. Yeah, she's awesome. Honestly,
that's awesome.
You guys have nothing bad to say about her. She gets it. She doesn't shy away from pieces. I mean, she's awesome.
As long as
they're few and far between. There's a small percentage. It's a small percentage that can do it.
We don't get a lot of interest in it, but I'm not opposed to it at all. I mean, if you're physically able to do it and you realize what you're signing up for, then by all means, like, I think that's a huge asset to your company. It diversifies your company, and it's puts a lot of customers at ease. They like to deal with females. But anyway, back to the what you were looking for with this operations manager. I'm really curious.
Yeah. Just I wanted someone with managing experience. So it was someone I knew previously. She I know she managed some houses out here where out here in this area. She managed like this. She was like the director of these recovery houses out here. She no longer worked that. She was managing some other job that she was at, but she just has those skills. She's organized. She's assertive, and I just thought she would be a good fit, and so far she's proven me right.
That's great. I love that. Yeah. It's tough to find that right person. You have to be able to relate to the movers, $20, $25 an hour employee who's busting their butt out there every day. And then you have to be able to assimilate with the multi-million-dollar homeowner that, only likes the finest things in life. And it's somebody who can kind of bridge that gap and also deal with the stresses of ops management. But I think being organized, being, process driven, as opposed to like people like us who are probably big picture thinkers and ADHD, you don't really want an ADHD person being an ops manager. That, put them in sales or something.
And she's already organizing everything. She's already familiar going through our SOPs, reorganizing them, looking them over. She's already coming out with ideas on how we could do things better, organizing the office area. So, I think she's a good fit. I know I talked to Chad too. He was telling me, I think their minds just work differently than the movers. I wanted someone's mind that didn't work as a mover, because my last one was a mover. I moved up, which I try to focus on hiring within. But I think for certain roles, I mean, I told all the movers anyways, I don't think any of you want it anyways. But I just don't think it's fit for a mover. I needed someone that thought differently than a mover does.
There's days I wish I could just go back to only being a mover, and that's all I had to worry about was going and getting a sweat and knocking out the job for the day. And then I could go home and not have to think about all the other million things that we get to think about. But at the end of the day, it's obviously, big things that we're doing. So it makes it fulfilling. But exactly. I hear what you're saying, man. I mean, we try to look within when we have a position open. And I will say that pretty much most of our office team has worked as a mover in one way, shape, or form, whether it was with us or maybe with another company. And then sometimes people didn't sign up to work as a mover, but when stuff hits the fan, they end up becoming one. If we've had,
Mm-hmm.
Ashley on my team, she's got outmoved. Faith. Most people listening to this know Faith. She started as an executive assistant of mine, and then I needed some help with sales, and so she started doing some sales, and then we needed some help in dispatching and organizing, and she started doing some of that stuff. And that's actually where she met her husband, who was a mover with us at the time, and then brought her into a marketing role. And she did marketing for a while before she ever came over to the Moving Titan retreat side of things and Titan Up training. But she had gone out on moves. There were days in peak summer season, 8 o'clock at night, guys need help, or we got a small studio apartment that still needs to get knocked out. Faith was there, and she did it. So she's worked every role. But like, going back to the point, like, I try to look within, but sometimes it just, you need somebody with a fresh perspective that doesn't have the habits that get developed as a mover, doesn't have the tendencies to, because a lot of times the movers are buddies, they're friends, they want to take care of their friends, they play favorites with scheduling and things like that. And you got to be fair, you got to be strict and fair as in that role. And sometimes it's tough for people that have been on the other side of it, especially with your own company, to do that.
For sure.
Well, that's awesome, man. I want to hear about what some of your goals are. You're highly motivated. You've been to several of our events. We've talked offline, social media, whatever. And I can tell, like, you're driven, like, you've been reading the books, you've been doing the personal growth and development, growing your company. And you've seen some great growth, but I'm curious, what are the goals for Karsten and Kinetic Movers going forward?
Yeah. So, goals. I mean, my personal goals, like I want to get to the point where I'm not so hands on. So I think I'm so addicted to chaos. I've definitely been dealing with a little bit of burnout mode. I am highly driven, highly passionate, but I have delegation, but I have a hard time still fully delegating. So I know I'm bringing that new ops manager to the Scottsdale event, and
Nice.
this sounded very appealing to me because I just I sound like we're really going to dial in on the business side of things more. So that's what I'm trying to. My goals are I want to get more into looking over numbers, looking over financials, and not being so hands on in the business, and elevating my team to make decisions without me, and not feeling like they have to ask me for everything, because I've also allowed that though too. So that's the goal, is to get a little out, because I've been experiencing a little bit of burnout recently, because I'm everywhere. If something needs done, I'm there. Goal, man, definitely, like I said, we're on track to hit 2 mil this year. I definitely want to get our net profit up. Our net profit definitely dropped with the warehouse, and with the growth. So I just want to dial that in. And yeah, personal growth, man. I want to continue developing myself, man, being the best version of myself, and being able to have that freedom to to travel more, and yeah, and be a good leader to my team, and just be a good, yeah.
That's what it's all about. Create the freedom. That's the
Yeah.
whole reason we
Yeah.
get into this business, is to create the lifestyle and the freedom that we ultimately want. All the money in the world's not worth it if you're running yourself into the ground. So I think you're right on par with that. Prioritize your health, your family, your relationships, your happiness. That tends to also allow your moving company to do better. I think a lot of times we lose the forest for the trees, and we get so focused on the grind mode that we're micromanaging too many things, and we're doing
Mhm.
all this other stuff, and we're not happy, and we're not fulfilled, and we get burnt out. And it's not good for anybody. It's not good to, it's not good for the leader to feel burnt out. And I think you're definitely on the right track with your priorities. So that's awesome. Any books that you recommend for the audience?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I've definitely read. I mean, right now I'm reading through Mark Hershey's. That's actually been helping me in the morning, the daily devotionals. So that's actually been a game changer. Starting my morning off with that. A chapter a day. Very spiritual, and it helps set the tone for the day. Right now, I'm actually going through this book. It's an older book. One of my guys gave it to me. I'll have to look at it. Something about, I don't even know the name. It was Leaders in Business. It looks like a book from like the 1980s. It's talking about like business owners from like the early 1920s. up, but it's been very beneficial. I definitely read the Hometown Titan. That was a game changer for me. Just hearing the experience from someone from the moving world, because I haven't heard that before. Just spoke my language. So yeah.
I promise I wasn't fishing for a compliment.
No.
I do appreciate
that was for real.
I'm always looking for new books to read. So I do appreciate that though. Thank you.
Yeah.
Cool, man. Well, this has been awesome. If anybody wants to get in touch with you, I know you'll be at the June mastermind retreat that we're throwing out in Scottsdale in a couple months. Super excited to have you out there and meet your ops manager. But otherwise, how can people get in touch if they want to reach out, mastermind, brainstorm, just talk shop?
Yeah, I mean, I'm on social media, Karsten Desario. You can look on Instagram. It's Kinetic Karsten, Karsten. No one ever gets my name right. And then, yeah, you can find me on social media.
Awesome. Well, thanks for coming on today, Karsten. Well, this has been an awesome episode with Karsten Desario of Kinetic Movers and Storage out there in New York, Pennsylvania. And thanks for tuning in to the Grow Your Moving Company podcast. We'll see y'all next time.
Thanks, Wade.
Thank you for tuning in to another episode of the Grow Your Moving Company podcast. If you'd like to learn more about any of the sponsors listed on this show, want to apply for the next Moving Titan retreat, or interested in owning or working for a Two College Brothers franchise, drop me a line at wade@twocollegebrothers.com. Moving out. Have a great day.